So, क्या कर रही है? Okay. शांत जा. हरे कृष्णा.
हरे कृष्णा.
हाँ. So
Hi everyone, welcome back. So today we have here with us Aashi, who recently got recommended from 31 SSB Jalandhar for SSC Tech entry in his 10th attempt. So Ashik, what would you say? How are you feeling today sitting on this seat in front of this camera? Because you again have been one of the meager parts of the family of SSB Wings, and everybody is on cloud 9 to have you recommended and sitting here. So please tell us, what does it feel like?
First of all, hi everyone, and it definitely feels very well because I've been working from almost after my graduation since 2021, applying for various entries in order to get recommended and join the forces. But I was able to make it in just a month ago, and with the help of the SSB Wings. So I'm very happy that all the hard work has finally paid off.
That's great, Ashik. Thank you so much. Ashik, since you are the second person here with us who is a Saka alumni who's been on Saka, the first one being Kushwant Sharma, he told the viewers some very interesting incidents and stories from back there of those 10-15 days. And I'm sure you might have an interesting bit of your own to tell the viewers. So could you please give us a brief about what it was like in those 15 days?
Well, yes, and talking about Saga, it was the first trekking experience for me, which was in the Kangra. And one of the interesting things which happened was we were a group of 15 people. So normally, the trek should be completed in a day itself. We went and started the trek at about 9:30 in the morning, and we were supposed to be there at about 5 or 6 o'clock in the evening. So that was the plan. And but when it was about 4:30 or 5 o'clock, we came to know that we have already only trekked about half the distance. And when we reached there, we were out of our resources, which was हमारे पास पानी खत्म हो गया था. Everybody was out of water, and at those places कोई पानी का source भी नहीं था. So then the thing came up like we need to get some water for the 15 people, because if there is no water, there is no food, and without water one can't even trek and go any place.
Definitely.
So उसके लिए I remember we had a rucksack bag in which we collected all the 20 bottles. Everybody was carrying about two bottles. We collected about 20-25 odd bottles. Where we were 4 people: Rajiv sir, Ashutosh, me, and then there was a local guide. So we all, and we used to call him Cheetah. So because he used to cover the same distance about 3 and 4 hours. It's just like, he was just like that. So I remember it is normally said in the mountains that one do not trek at nights, but at हमारे पास पानी नहीं था, so we trekked at night and we reached at the temple top at Adhimani Chamunda temple, which we were supposed to do the next day. The 4 people reached there, and there was a person who was there, and he said that वो अभी water लेके आए थे कुछ time पहले, and he was not ready to give us the water because वहाँ पे भी water source नहीं था. So we eventually convinced him somehow, got about 5 to 10 liters of water only for 15 people, and then we came back, and after that it was 5 to 10 liter waters में everybody drank water. उसमें the food was also cooked, Maggie was cooked, some rice was cooked.
And I remember Vishal sir cutting up small pieces of apples and cucumbers and giving it out to everybody so that there's some amount of water retaining left.
Correct. And this cucumber experience was that I remember whenever we used to be at home, my mother used to say, eat cucumber, it has water. Then I used to say, why should I eat it? I can just drink it. But I remember when we all four people were, trekking at night, we did not had any water. So we were given cucumbers. We had one cucumber for 4 people, and we just distributed in 4 parts. And that night I remember that how much water a cucumber contains. So that was
अहमियत समझ आ गई पानी की भी और
हाँ,
खीरे की भी दोनों चीजों की. And I remember coming back from that trek, we had seen so many people wasting water on the road, and we all were like, guys, what are you doing? You don't know the ahmiyat. We have faced it overnight. In one night, we realized how important water is.
Correct.
Right. So moving on, and again, so this is another example we've got of a live SRT that took place with you.
Correct.
And a next level of exposure. I mean, this kind of thing, even if you tell somebody, people might not even believe it actually happened because it looks like that one made up story.
Correct.
Right? But of course, it is true. So again, when we talk about exposure, so SSB Wings is something that's been very big about, preaching about exposure, on how exposure is one of the most important things for your SSB. So what is that all about? Like what in accordance with your thinking and your beliefs, how does exposure affect a person's SSB or personality?
Well, yes, talking about the exposure which SSB Wings tells you to have is something which is very important. Because for example, if you want to write a story on trekking, until and unless आपने trekking किया नहीं है, you will not be able to frame a proper story. Or for example, अगर आपने if you have written in your PIQ looking at a friend trekking or some adventure sports or traveling, then you will not be able to defend your point in the in front of the interviewing officer, because if he has to ask some counter questions to you on that particular topic, then you will not be able to answer. A lot of times it happens ki we might have played some sports at not a very good level, but we still write it down there and we are not very much well aware about it. But then the interviewing officer will do cross questions on that part and we will not be able to answer it. So I think that is where the exposure which Wings tells you to have. So if a person who is not very much social adaptable, that comes out from his stories, his behavior which he has been through in these 10 to 12 days with the SSB Wings, then during this time sir will tell you to interact more with friends, make more friends, go out, go out on weekends, watch movie, eat, go on trekking together. So I think these kinds of small things lead to very big impact on your personality. It enhances you in one or the other way.
Alright, so Ashik, another thing that I really want to know is that Psych Test is something that scares a lot of people. Quite literally, when I say scare, I mean scare. लोगों की genuinely हालत खराब होती है Psych Test से. So I know for a fact that you have put in a lot of work into your TATs, your WATs, SRTs, OIR in general, all of the aspects of psych, right? So how was your psych test this time comparatively to the previous times you had?
Yeah, talking about my this psych test attempt, it's like as sir had already told me that this time one thing was in my mind that I don't have to focus upon my results, I will just perform in my test. So what used to happen with me in my earlier attempts, that I was not able to complete my stories also. But this time I was able to complete all of my stories, and my VATs, I attempted all of the VATs, and SRTs, I only did 29 SRTs, but I answered all of the situations very properly. And then my SD was already prepared, so I wrote it down, and yeah, that's all of my psych test, and I think it went fairly well.
That's great, Ashik. So you would suggest that even if you're not attempting all of the aspects in your SRT, all the questions and all the situations, you can still, make it productive and make it, turn into your favor.
Well, yes, talking about SRTs, I think the qualities matter over quantity. So yes, I had only attempted 29 SRTs, and I think among all the guys which we got recommended, I was the only one who has attempted the least number of SRTs. So yes, and I have also had my other friends also who have attempted very less SRTs, but they still got recommended. So quality matters more. And few things about the SRT is that read it properly and try to answer it in detail. Because in some SRTs you will find there are 3 situations, which are in just one single SRT. So you have to address all the 3 situations in a priority order. So yeah, that's.
So Ashik, as we talk about the psych test, moving on, the second aspect is interview. So how would you say your interview had gone, and was there anything throughout that was present you were not able to tackle up with or answer as per your expectations?
I think my interview went little well. In my interview was taken by the board president, and it went for about little more than an hour. And yeah, there were a few questions which I was not able to answer, like mostly the technical questions and few of the GK questions. But I tried to answer it in the best of my knowledge, and if I did not know anything, I just told him straightforward that I do not know the answer. And one of the questions which he asked me about chess, that I like playing chess. So he asked me that why the chessboard is of size 8 by 8 and why not 9 by 9 or 7 by 7. So this was a very question I gave him various reasons, but he was not getting convinced. But I still did not give up, and I tried to answer it. But then in the end, I told him that it's a very interesting question, and I'll try to find out the answer about it. And yeah, that's how then he left it, and then we moved on to the next questions. So,
That's great, Ashik. So, do you think was there anything related to Rajiv sir's approach with the interview aspect that was there, which had you, glide through it very smoothly?
they were not just a one single thing, there were various things like the conduct when you are in the interview, and you have to be very easy and relaxing in the interview. I remember there were few of my friends who went to the president before. They said like even in the AC they were sweating, but when we talk about here, I had already been through a lot of interviews, so I was very in a very comfortable environment there. So if there was any question which was asked to me, I was not aware. I was comfortable enough that I can say the interviewing officer that yes, I do not know the answer, and I will read about it and learn about it. So yeah.
Alright, Ashik, that makes a lot of sense. Thank you so much. Moving on, Ashik, since you were working while preparing for your SSB, and I'm pretty sure majority of our audience here is also going through that dilemma of preparing for the forces along with your work, right? So it sometimes gets a very difficult situation to balance both out, because एक तरफ काम भी करना है, कमाना भी है, और फौज की तैयारी भी करनी है, तो दोनों को साथ में लेके चलना ही पड़ता है. So how would you say you were able to tackle that? And what would be your pointers to the audience on what they can do in put up ways to manage all of this?
So for the people who are working, I think there is two parts. The first part is that you need to manage your time, and you can wake up early or get up late at night. That is the basic things I would say. And definitely अगर आप कुछ करना चाहते हो then time अपने आप निकल जाता है. In between the hours you can just study some current affairs, watch some videos in order to make yourself updated. Otherwise, we all know it's personality test, and on weekends also we can spend a majority of the time on our preparation. But the most important factor which I would believe is not just managing time; it's being in the right company. So if you are in the right company of your friends who are also preparing for the same, then you will end up making it or managing your time somehow, and then it will give a boost to your preparation. And so people who are thinking that they are not able to manage time and they should leave work, I will tell them not to do so. Because if you are working and then you are a 22 or 23-year-old person who is working, it gives a very good impact in front of the interviewing officer when you go there. Because the majority of the questions then are asked on your interview, on your work, and then if you are working, then you will be able to defend your point very well. And then all the other current affair questions or the extra GK questions, will not be asked to you, which happened in my situation. Because my GK was not very good, but my work profile was as such that the interviewing officer took interest in it, and majority of my questions were based upon that.
Perfect. So Ashik, as we all know, you have had 10 attempts. It is a big number for many people, and on top of that, you have 7 conferences. So that makes you a tagda repeater for people, as the competition says. So what would you say over the time? What all things were there that you learned, that you picked up, and that you had to improve on or work upon, and that you realize over time that yes, this is something that I can improve on, this is something I can add on to my personality. So name a few things for the audience so that they can get a gist in your journey.
Well, yes, talking from the testing perspectives, and I've also talked with Rajiv sir and Vishal sir. So one of the things which was missing with me was the consistency, because I was working. So whenever my SSB used to come just 1 or 2 weeks ago, I used to start preparing. And then after my SSB, I again used to go back to my work routine. And then again, when my next SSB used to come up, I then again used to start from zero. So that was a major gap which was there in my preparation, which Rajesh sir pointed out very well after reading my TAT stories and everything. He told me that my ideas and themes are good, but I need little bit more consistent efforts and little bit more focus so that I can make it up. And that is what I did in this attempt. I think from December itself, I have been part of the SSB Wings regular practice sessions, and from there till March, I was constantly there with them, in touch with Rajesh sir and Vishal sir, constantly working upon my GDs, writing stories, getting them checked and reviewed, and that's how I was able to make it up and correct my mistakes.
That's great, Ashik. As both the mentors mentioned, it's our hard work that pays off eventually, along with theirs. तो वो तो दिख ही रहा है कि बहुत मेहनत करी गई है इसके पीछे. And you just mentioned that you had come for practice sessions back to back again and again, and you were also staying in Meerut, right?
Yeah.
So how was that like? How was having both the mentors, at your disposal, if you could say, present there 24/7 to help you out? जो भी मदद चाहिए हो उसके लिए available रहना, and being in that zone of preparation 24/7. How was that like for you?
Well, it was very good, and I always say that now they are more than mentors to me. They have turned like an elder brothers to me, who are constantly guiding me everywhere at every place, and they'll be for future also with me. And talking about his preparation, we understand about the SSB through the regular classes, but we need something so that we can practice it. For example, GDs, we understand what are the GDs, what are the topics which are coming in GDs. We also practice it, 1 or 2 GDs, but eventually we need to do a lot of practice, because GD is something which we do not do very much in our schools or colleges until unless we are into some proper clubs. So for that, I used to come in GDs. We have done a lot of GDs. I believe I have done more than 100 or 200 of GDs before this SSB of mine. And then lecturate practice was also there, because day to day we don't have the habit of preparing in 3 minutes and then giving a lecturate on that.
Right.
So we need to prepare for that, we need content for that, and then eventually we need somebody to review our performance. Even when we talk about an interview, there are some times which we feel that we have not made a mistake, but when a third perspective comes in, and that is where the other members also help out of the SSB Wings community, the people with which we prepare. So the open interviews were conducted during the practice sessions. So I was being interviewed, and there a lot of 10 people were watching me. So they pointed out my strengths and weaknesses, and accordingly I was able to correct it. So if everybody pointed out one mistake, then at one time only I was able to correct 10 mistakes of mine with just one interview. So that is something which is very good.
Definitely, Aashi. Thank you so much for giving us an insight about how it was like. Now, as you mentioned, you have done hundreds and 200s of group discussions for practice, and I know it personally because I've seen you do it. So, group discussions or lecturing, सब में काफी लोग होते हैं who do not have a strong point, right? Like they don't stand strong when they give a lecturing. किसी के पैर कांपने शुरू हो जाते हैं. Some people start stuttering, and lots of things happen to different people, different kinds of things. So, what do you say it was for you like? Like how did you tackle with lecturing? Was it ever difficult for you to give out a 3 minutes speech or a lecture in front of 10s and 20s peoples, and like what did it go for like for you?
I did not had like a stage fear, because in my college and in my school days also, I was very actively engaged in hosting some events and doing stage performances. So that was not the case with me, and I believe that my communication skills were like also okay and good. So I was able to deal with it. My problem was the content, because being from an engineering background, we hardly get to know about the international relations which are going upon, and then giving a 3-minute lecture. So we need some knowledge on those topics. So we were given the resources also, and we were told how to prepare, what is the pattern, how to spend those 3 minutes effectively in the lecturate. So all these things just help me out.
That's great, Ashik. So what would be a few pointers you would like to give out to our audiences? As these are a few pen down things that I've personally experienced will help you out in lecturates and improve it.
Okay, the first point is that communication skills. That is something where you need to improve it, because if you're going in the armed forces as an officer, communication skills is a must. It's not that you should be Shakespeare, but you should be a person who can explain his own idea to the individual who is standing in front of you. And for that, you need to practice it. Yes, at times we do not get the opportunity to practice it at our homes because the majority of us come from very humble backgrounds, and that is where friends come into play, and especially the friends which are preparing for the same examination and defense. So you all can make a group and you all can record a video of yours doing lecture it and then send it to each other, and then you can review it. And then also there's a one thing in our mind initially when I started with this was my friend said that how we would look in front when we are speaking and standing in front of a stage. So the best part you could do with that is stand in front of a mirror, give your lecture it, give some points or read at least something, and then you can just have a look at yourself, how you are looking in front of it. If you think that your expressions are bad, you're looking less confident, then you can improve and work upon it. Yeah, that would be my tips.
Great, Ashik. Thank you so much. Ashik, I have to mention this. You have been one of those students who have been part of the Wings family for a very, very long time now, right?
Yeah.
We got connected in 2021 in Saka 1 that happened in the month of October, 2.5 years back. So yes, it has been a very long time, and it was like that's where you had joined SSB Wings initially and the first time. So from where did you get the idea of joining Wings, and how was the experience like, and how has it been like so far?
Well, for me, yes, I joined SSB Wings in October 2021 for the Saka course. And one thing which intrigued me very much was that this was one place which was taking us on an adventure camp, and then at the same time giving us the requisites of the SSB. So that is something which attracted me towards Wings. I remember scrolling Instagram and then came across the page where I remember there was also one instance where mentioned that we would be taken to Captain Vikram Batra's place. So that was also one of the important parts,
Right.
which attracted me to this.
Definitely. So Ashik, before we move towards a wrap up of this interview, I really want to ask you this on a personal level as well, that you've had 10 attempts, out of which 7 were conferences. So definitely there's been a lot of work in progress, a lot of redials, starting from scratch again, as you mentioned earlier as well, that you had to start from zero every time you used to come back because you had to manage work as well. So what was that like, getting that plus in this attempt, getting that recommendation? And if I'm not wrong, you were not planning to go out for this attempt, right? You did not have much plans and you were not expecting anything. So what's the story behind that? Please tell the viewers.
Well, yes, so the story behind this was that just before this attempt, I had one of my attempts in Mysore. And for my Mysore attempt, I had prepared really very well with sir. But unfortunately, I got, conferenced out. And it was just about 2 to 3 weeks ago before my this attempt. And I was not sure whether I am prepared for this attempt again. Because with sir, we had our plans for my preparation, which would be done in somewhere June or July for about 2 months. And then I remember on 28th of April, it was my reporting day. And on 26th evening, I just called up sir and I just asked him that whether I should go for this attempt or not. And then he just took some pause, and then he said, okay, just go, but do not expect recommendation. Just go and just perform, but do not expect anything. So that's how I went. I went and I did not expected anything out of it. And I remember I also planned a trip to Rishikesh for that I would be, because it's been my record in my technical entries 2 times I've been screened out for the same entry, and so I thought maybe this time again I won't be able to make it up in the screening. So I just planned a trip with my friend to Rishikesh, and eventually the trip it wasn't successful.
Trip got cancelled, but it's okay.
But it's okay, I got recommended, and yeah, the experience is really worthy, because all the hard work which you have been doing from a very long period of time, because joining the armed forces is a dream for everybody, and a childhood dream, I would say. So all the hard work which you have done just flashes out of in front of your eyes in just 1 second when your chest number is called, and it's really very worthy. All the hard work just pays off.
Definitely, Ashik. Thank you so much for that. And one last thing is, what would be your go-to message for all the viewers watching you? What would be that one thing or 2 things that you would like to give them as a token?
So yeah, the one message which I would say everybody is one shairi which I'm remembering right now.
Sure,
which
please
is
go ahead.
that मंजिल तो मिलेगी, भटक कर ही सही, गुमराह तो वो हैं जो घर से निकले ही नहीं. So just be a little bit uncomfortable while you're preparing in a preparation, and just always say one thing to yourself, that you have come this far not to stay this far, and just continue your preparation with high motivation, and your hard work will pay off.
That is great, Ashik. Thank you so much. Thank you very much. So here, guys, this was Ashik Pal here for all of you, giving his insight and his experience on how SSB has been for him. You guys can tune into this video and wait for more, as we are not done yet. Subscribe to our channel and wait for the stuff coming up. Thank you.